Hello everyone, welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by Click of the Creators. Today we have Ms. Saloni Ghule with us. Ms. Ghule is the founder of SMG Co. She has been representing and advising several organizations, right from MNCs to SME sector, including the startup industry, and has been providing expertise through the consulting and strategy building, litigation as well as negotiation and dispute litigation, if I'm not wrong. I mean, I'm really sorry, litigation as well as negotiations of disputes. That's what she's doing. There are a lot of key practice areas about Saloni. If you can talk about litigation, negotiation, legal strategy, startup consulting, if I'm not wrong, bankruptcy, and so on and so forth. We'll dwell down into all of these things once we go deeper into the session. But without further ado, let's welcome her to the talk show. Hello, Miss Guhe. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you, Mr. Sagar. That was a very giving introduction on your part, and you flatter me that way. I'm having a very good day. Also, thank you for accepting my request of doing this on a weekend, not on a weekday.
I mean, I really appreciate that. It became like an excuse for me to get up early on the weekend. You see how weekends
Sorry
are.
for that.
No, I mean, thank you for that. And this has been a brilliant choice for me to do a session on Saturday. To dwell down into this, I mean, I want you to set up a context. If I miss something in your, while introducing you, I want you to cover that up. What you are actually into, what's your key practice area, and how you are trying to add value to legal space.
Oh, you've been very kind, and you've covered most of the things. But one of all the things that I really hold the highest is that I'm the first generation lawyer who had the fire in her belly to pursue litigation and independent practice, and then now venturing into a law firm kind of setup on her own. Of course, there are blessings, there are mentors, but then yes, this is something that I hold really close to my heart. So that's that. Rest all comes with, there are so many stalwarts who have written commentaries, those who have studied the law, all that we do. I still consider myself as a student of law. So the learning process continues, even every day when you're appearing before the court, every day when you're sitting with your client, a new issue pops up, you're struggling, you're studying on it, you ace it, and then you crack it. But then amongst all this, the constant is this, at yes, I'm the first generation lawyer who could get through, where there is so much of talk about there being legacy into the legal fraternity, there being, godfathers in the legal fraternity, especially in the Indian context. I'm really proud that, yes, and again, a female lawyer, I do not see a glass ceiling there. So,
I mean, that's right. That is right. That is right. We'll of course talk. I also want to understand about how does it work being a woman lawyer. There are a lot of challenges that come across, and I'm not just talking about from Indian. I mean, we'll talk about from the Indian perspective, but I have seen this happening in different places. We talk about the most advanced land on earth, US, even in states, lawyers see this. So we'll talk about that. But before that, if our viewers can understand, if I can also understand what really got up your interest in being a lawyer, that to a first generation lawyer. What was that?
It's just simple. I had seen my senior conducting a cross examination in Pune court, and that was my first day at my internship, and that was love at first sight to me. Even now, that was the day I decided I wouldn't do anything else but be a litigator. So the answer is as short as that. However, the learning curve doesn't stop. You evolve daily. And that is the reason it is called practice and not mere profession. Medicine and legal fraternity are the only two professions which have the dignity of being called as noble professions, and which we all hold very dearly to ourselves. That is also because you're evolving even as person every single day. You introspect daily into the issues that are finely tuned into the social fabric of your country, the society that you come from. And upfront first-hand exposure to things like that is really fascinating. That's the premise. And then when you start getting involved into the legal aspects, interpretations, because the moment you start introspecting on the social fabrics about the happenings of the society, because hey, I remember one of the famous legal definitions, what is law? A law is a reflection of the society. So when you are sitting over there as a legal expert, so to say, and you are observing the society, being part of the society, a lot of questions like why, how, what come to your mind. And then you enter a fascinating world which tells you that, which practically answers how, what, why, and when to a certain extent. The when aspect is, of course, to a certain extent. However, there are so many answers to you. And in fact, people say that a litigation comes when the opportunity ends. However, I see a lot of opportunity if you read the law at the right time. There is so much of business, there is so much of expansion that one can bring about, not only in society, but also in businesses. Speaking as a corporate lawyer that now I serve as, but there is fascinating range of opportunities as a business that can be invited through correct interpretation of law or a timely manner. If you read the law on time, you avoid the litigation. If you face the litigation, you miss something in the back, is what I always tell my clients.
I mean, that's right. That's perfectly fine. I generally use this quote. I guess this is the only quote that I remember from any movie, which said, I'm a big fan of, courthouse movies. I'm a big fan of all those things. So it said, it was an Indian movie. It said, legal fraternity. I mean, legal practice it's a business of law. It's not a business of justice. So you see, it's a permutation and combination. As you said, it's a reflection of society, and this has been again. I guess another line that I can relate to is this one. Brilliant. If we can dwell down into this, I've also wanted to understand from
Sam,
always from a young lawyer.
to interrupt
Sure.
you over here. And when you were speaking about, courtroom dramas, which are becoming more so popular nowadays. Like there was Boston Legal in the past, and then there was Suits, and then Suits gave a huge spike to the legal fraternity that is there. And oh my God, everybody thinks of a lawyer now, either is thinking of Harvey Specter. I know we are speaking some really serious subject over here, but yes, this is something we really need to address, because nowadays, whenever I meet an intern or a junior lawyer, why did you decide on becoming a lawyer? The answer is Harvey Specter, but hey, that's not how a legal profession functions. One needs to really understand that courtroom drama is, at the end of the day, only drama. There is a lot of satire that they're trying to pull off, but that is not how the legal world functions. Sorry to pop the bubble, but that's really not how the legal world functions,
I mean,
It's
that's right. That's why
fascinating, it's engaging,
we
it's thrilling.
yeah,
But
we always use a word called drama ahead of this. That's why. I mean, yeah, that's right. And thank you for mentioning that. That's a caution there, guys, for everyone. All right. Also wanted to understand always from a actually young lawyer that too, if someone is sort of entered by herself into the into this field, how would you rate? I won't say rate, but what do you think about the legal system's drive towards encouraging access to justice? Is there a tangible way to reduce the gap of justice? We always hear there are a lot of cases pending, and justice not being served on time, and all these things. So if we can get some insights from you, that would be great.
yeah, wonderful. And oh yes, access to justice has been applied for several centuries, and more so with the increasing time. And an abstract interpretation of why the gap is there, what it is there right now, is essentially the population. Speaking especially from the Indian context. First is the pendency is so much, and volume of intake and volume of dismissal is so wide. It needs to be bridged. And how do we bridge that? One, when we're addressing the aspect of volume, how do we bridge that? Reaching the court whenever it is actually required to reach, not to file frivolous petitions. As a society, we should be really mindful of why we are filing a particular petition. If it is only to delay the tactics or delay the ends of justice, or actually to get certain relief or in pursuit of justice. But this moral compass can only lie with one individual and not with the judge. And because we always want it to be separate when it goes to the judiciary, but when and how you approach the judiciary is number one, very important. There are so many aspects also when people reach the court when the matter is infructuous and trying to revive basically a dead body. Practically impossible. Adds to the pendency. Then there are rumors about, you know, political influence, the dramatic influence, and also influence of the high-ended class of the society. Of course, I do not want to comment further on that, but for those who are commenting, I would like to really question the privileged community of the society makes only 10% or 20%. However, the entire pendency or the entire life of the litigation is not practical. There is no statistic or no data that can indicate that only the privileged cases are being heard. Maybe there is data that can indicate that privileged cases were heard out of turn, right? And that is a political aspect. I personally do not like to comment on it. However, while we do not reach the end of the queue, we should also introspect, is the queue really moving? And what are we doing to stop the queue from moving? Right? That is one. Second, unfortunate aspect after volume is the judiciary. There is not as much judges. The judges to the population ratio is really poor in our country. Strictly speaking of the Indian context right now again. The sensitization of people finding value in their work and much less into what you are getting paid for has to be driven home for those who are senior in age and also those who are aspirational in age, because this sensitization is losing out over the period that yes, the value can be only brought home when you're bringing a big fat bundle of, you know, green cash or a stash of cash home is when you're bringing value to the system. That is not the end. If everybody becomes a lawyer, who will become the judge? There are so many courts which are finding a dearth of magistrates. And then you talk about in prison or under trial prisoners who are not represented. What is the fate? Because there is nobody to adjudicate the case. However, outside the courtroom, in the lobby, there are many judges. Many judges loitering around discussing what should have been the fate of the case. Or isne aisa kiya, and you know, there is some crosstalk about who must have done something, aspersions drawn upon, which is really not welcome. You need to be part of the system more. And then, of course, the system has to develop and evolve over the time. But unless you nourish the system, the role of nature continues. No? Unless you nourish the system, how will the system operate at the best pace? If there is not enough fuel in your fuel tank, how do you expect you will reach some place 100 miles away? So it's a long road.
That's a very good angle to look at it. I mean, we have heard a lot of answers on this, of course, but this is a very new angle that I'm looking at it. If I may also understand or dwell onto this further, do you think that the young lawyers now that are coming, even the the experienced lawyers who are now seeing how the new things are working, they're more towards mediation? They want to set up things, they don't want to take things to litigation because it involves a lot of things, not just for them, but as you said, it also affects judiciary as a whole, and it also affects the parties that are involved. So it's better to do mediation or arbitration rather than litigation. What do you think? Am I going the right way, or do you have any other take on this?
No, absolutely. You are going the right way. And also, it is arbitration and mediation has been a welcome revolution in India. And of course, world across, the way things are operating, the minimization of procedural aspects by virtue of introduction of arbitrations and mediation is fascinating. You know, a simpler take on mediation is when you read a brief and you really feel that somebody should smack sense, smack some sense into the head of the client, and you're not able to do that. Mediation is the right way to do it, very nobly, very gently. Also, because let's not forget, a lawyer, once he becomes a advocate, or once he swears into the certificate of practice, essentially he has to answer 4 pillars, no? One, for the justice system. Second, towards the society. Third, towards the public at large, and the other side as well, the respondent, the other party, and then to your client. That does not mean you act against your client or you betray his trust, but the first 3 pillars are the moral findings. Let's not forget that. Here, the advice that you're tendering into your client is brightening his mind up, and is giving him an opportunity of taking a judicious call on a situation. So how fair are you in taking those decision makings can be done more easily through mediation, because you are able to put the 2 parties sit across one another. And then again, it satisfies as the aspect of pendency, because a case which could have been filed is stopped from being filed, is again a great aid to avoiding the pendency and access to justice, because people part away either both happily or both unhappily. Both the situations are ideal, because both the situations are ideal, I would say. If both the parties part away unhappily, I think that is the best kind of redressal in kinds of commercial disputes.
Right.
And then again, I think I missed out on arbitration, cutting out on the procedure, evidence, and all that I spoke already. Also, you look at the life of the life of a suit ordinarily, and merely by invoking an arbitration clause into your agreement, how shorter a lifespan of the arbitration can you make, or of the dispute you can make? Perhaps 1.5 years after the new amendment. And while we know suits being pending for years and years, decades and decades. So that is again a wonderful aid to the adjusting the pendency volumes. Also, another takeaway and introspection I take into this is the arbitration fees, right? Because the court fees is one aspect, but the expenditure one actually incurs behind an effective arbitration is huge. A welcome move came when an amendment came with respect to a schedule being given by way of the amendment, that what is the ceiling, how much an arbitrator could charge. Otherwise, the arbitrator fees were really mind-boggling. And then the client would have been in a trap that there is an arbitration clause. I want to go to the arbitrator, but the fees are really high. And then if I want to go for a suit, avoiding the clause, in that case, the suit's life is really long, and can I really avoid the clause?
I mean, that's right. That's right. That's right. We'll. I also want to talk from a client's perspective, because I think now a lot of things are changing. Attitude and expectations of clients. But before that, let's also talk about the noble profession. Advocacy is said to be a noble profession. How do you see the legal profession impacting the society now? I mean, because you see, I'm also coming from different perspectives. When there are some heavy cases that we always see now and then coming in. You see, from the Nirbhaya rape case to to some murders and then rapes and everything is happening. Someone's getting stabbed, and if it's a big house, if it's a big house case, then there is a lot of media attention, and that's when people also get into all of this. So how do you think the these sort of cases and lawyers involved in this is sort of impacting the society? I'm not talking about their judgment, how the judgment affects, but how does this actually from the core affects the society or impacting the society?
Fascinating. The impact of legal system on the society can obviously be observed on two parallels. One is when our country, India, got independence, there was a horrendous effort being put into crafting the constitution of our country, which happens to be one of the longest constitutions. And it becomes the foundation, the laying stone. Even if people say that a lot of legislation has been borrowed from the English legislation, nonetheless, the constitution, which happens to be the founding stone of our entire legal system today, is freshly drafted and crafted with care and attention. No one can shy away. A committee was set up. Everybody had put in work because there has been awareness. There was sensitization that unless this foundation is in place, the society could go haywire. Second aspect is, how do you say that the society impacts the law? You said Nirbhaya. Another classic example is POSH. The entire POSH legislation came into being because of the societal need of having women a protected and safe workplace to work at, free from any harassments and much less the sexual harassment. So of course, like I said before, the society is a reflection of what your law is, and likewise the law is also a reflection of what your society is. At the same time, law is given, the legal system is given with an additional responsibility of anchoring the society through the times of difficulty. And again, classic example of this could be Keshavanand Bharti. When there was amendment right to be brought about into the constitution, the largest bench sat together to discuss what can be done about it. Was that not the classic example of the legal system navigating the society into the way through? Today, Keshavanand Bharti is not known for what amendment was what to be brought about, but it is more popularly known for the basic structure it laid down or identified to the constitution of your country. So while we are speaking of vice versa impact, we should be really mindful that the law is the navigating factor. You can always ask of the law, but never dictate the law. No matter how mighty you be, the law is more supreme.
That's right. You also mentioned a lot about basics. It's like we don't know who invented LEDs, the LED lights and all of that, but we know that who invented electricity and electric bulb. So we all know that. That is sort of setting up the basics like constitution, and then dwelling further down and doing some disruptions around it as well. Brilliant. That was again a beautiful one. I also wanted to talk about, as I said initially, as a lady lawyer who's on her own, first generation lawyer, having a law firm, and trying to break all the hooks that generally develop not just in the legal fraternity, I would say, but in the society itself. How do you see women in legal system and the future of women in the legal system? And I want you to be candid with me. I don't want the classic answers that no, we have the equality and all of that, because we all know, and let's accept that there are differences in every sector for women. However, and we should always also understand that they are decreasing, but they still exist. So if you can talk about that, that would be, I guess, great for me and for our viewers.
Oh, that is one question I would always love to address. And first, yes, there is a glass ceiling. Okay, so no inhibitions there in admitting that yes, there are glass ceilings. But also the glass ceiling comes with a caveat. It is a glass ceiling and not an iron ceiling, not something one can break down, right? So if you have enough vigor and passion, I keep on telling, even when I'm speaking about women's rights in general, not with respect to cases, because being a lady lawyer, I get invited to a lot of talk shows and programs where sensitization has to be done by various organizations. I say, yes, it's not a glass ceiling. It is a glass ceiling, not an iron ceiling. So we need to be really mindful of that. We as women have to be more stronger in terms of the hard work, the effort that we put in, and unapologetically, and without any regret, because it is only your aspiration that is driving you to break the glass ceiling, nobody else's. Nobody would be at loss if you don't succeed in life, but only you. Rather, people might even gain out of your failure, right? So this one context, I really am passionate about driving home to each and every woman out there that yes, it's a glass ceiling and not an iron ceiling. Remember that first. And then we can go on to talk about biases, because if we are to expect equality, first we should be ready, empowered, and mentally prepared, like really prepared. This is more of a mental game, an emotional game for us. It's easy to cry the victim card. I'm not saying there are no cases of when women get really victimized because of their gender. I'm really being mindful of that. I'm really being conscious of that. However, first step starts that yes, I'm not a victim. Yes, I'm a woman who can do it. And there is no question about creating parallels with a man. We are two unique and wonderful creatures that exist in this world, in this universe. Let's accept one another instead of saying that, because I'm a woman, I did not get it. There are times when you don't get it, but even to reach there, there's a lot of struggle. And more often than not, these days, especially our generation, Sagar, we hear people playing the victim card first, then putting in the effort, which is really not great. Especially after the era when we're standing today, we have Her Ladyship, Justice Leela Sheth. We have Her Ladyship, Sujata Manohar. We have so many legal icons for us in the faces of beautiful, strong women. And after the journey and effort that they've put in, today, if you want to play the victim card, really not done. What is expected is if they have brought you to till 100, you do it 110 and perhaps then cry. At least reach there, You're not even putting half the effort that they've put in. The TEDx talk by Leela Sheth, Her Ladyship, was a big hit and viral even amongst the non-legal fraternity, I believe. Right? So there is a glass ceiling, there are no iron ceilings. At the same time, the effort cannot be negotiated, cannot be compensated. At the same time, yes, make room for us men. We are here there, right?
I mean, that's a wise word from a wise lady coming for all of us. I mean, that's right. I mean, we I'm not sure whether you have read. Lawyers are well read always, but you have read Yuval Noah Harari's *Sapiens*. When I was going through it, I'm a big fan of history, evolution, and
Yes.
space, or everything that is beyond. Everything is that has conspiracy around it. We don't know about, and there are a lot of course changes in it in every decade. Like *Sapiens* did, it brought a revolution in our understanding, and it said that while we were hunter gatherers, we were gathering food for our family. it was women who were creating the society. You see, they were creating what we call as neighborhood. They were talking to each other, sitting sort of a, a medieval kitty parties maybe, but that is what they were doing. And we as a men uh, always went into competitive spirit rather than the emotional spirit and understanding it that way. But I guess that is also changing now. I mean, I cannot stand for all men there, but I can stand for myself.
I I completely agree on that. And this, what you are trying to say, is a personality trait
Mhm.
in general that one can bring, or a gender trait that one can bring in. As important, it is undeniable that there are few qualities that a man brings to a table. Likewise, few qualities women bring to a table. And like the medieval kitty parties that you did quote, we see in our fraternity more women in the family court, less women in the commercial courts.
That was the point I was about to make. That was about
Right?
I was about to make that. Yeah.
So when you're arguing aspects as tough as tax, or you are arguing aspects something as tough as constitution, I wouldn't dare to say that there are no women. Of course, there are women out there. Few of my wonderful colleagues are out there, but yes, at the same time, we know a majority of women run in towards the family court. I'm not saying which subject of the law is simpler, but there's a preference that gets created, you know. But at the
That's
same
fine.
time, when we are asking for equality, I would personally want to encourage women to test waters with each field of law, not restrict themselves to family court, and also request to the seniors out there to give opportunity to girls also as much in the commercial courts, in as much as other challenging fields, also in criminal courts. Also, one peculiar thing that we see, I'm sure this is worldwide true, that whenever you want to seek an adjournment or a passover, send a pretty lady, right? And when you want to argue the law, you will ask who is arguing the matter. When I was asked such a question, is any counsel coming? I said, no, I'm the arguing counsel. I think that was a strong answer enough. Instead of having protests
Why,
and demonstrations about it, I think
why
this
can't a
is a stronger answer.
yeah, why can't a pretty lady like yourself having a big smile always on their face argue? I mean, I guess that is even a good way to look at it. I mean, all not just men but everyone should look at it that way as well. Brilliant. I mean this was a good take from you, and I guess I did a great job in asking that one. Another one that I have for you is uh, I guess I was about to ask that in the middle. uh, what is really changing the attitude and expectations of clients, or what is the reason of changing attitude and expectations of the clients of looking at the lawyers nowadays?
Okay. Speaking generally, and allow me this bit of humor, okay? Lawyers, there is a place called Pune in Maharashtra. I do not know how many are aware, because your platform has an international audience, but Pune happens to be a very peculiar place, which is an education hub of the Maharashtra and also the entire country. So that space is popular for putting disclaimers right out there on outside of your doors, and really nasty ones. So I really wish a time comes, lawyers start saying, if my client Googles a relief, I will not advise him. That's what a Pune lawyer would do. And I would do it too, because we put in a lot of effort. I do not say that the client is an idiot. I, of course, respect the client. I also come from a traditional family of legal education, not family in terms of genealogy. I'm talking of the legal education. The traditional family of legal education still believes that the client is your word. Okay. And I still believe that. despite being in the commercial world and all that, because yes, client knows his case firsthand more than you do. He knows what he's suffering through more than you do. All that you can do is give the best possible advice you can give at that particular time. However, I would really fold my hands, stand in front of my God and say, allow me the opportunity of tendering some justice to you. Or not the justice, some advice to you before you start questioning me or quizzing me on what advice is the ideal one. Okay? That is one. Second attitude that has really changed after liberalization amongst the client world is you can negotiate with a lawyer. The lawyer is fighting with you for your own interest, not for somebody else's. And this is something, these are some impressions that you gather around when you're roaming around in the corridors of your courtrooms, and something that is really fascinating. Once I was arguing a pro bono case, I and my sister colleague, we both were arguing identical cases which were tagged along. She put in an effort to go and visit the site just to console the rest of the public. I did not, because that is not how I operate. So then the person whom I was representing, he said that you did not come to the site. I said, no, I came to the court. That is important. My sister colleague was also standing by my side. I'm not saying that she wasn't. But the expectations out of a lawyer are different from the modern world now. And this, I'm speaking of a pro bono case. Think about what deep pocket clients could be expecting out of a client. A different world now.
That's very right. And I guess this is same across the globe. I'm not sure. I'm not going to have a take on that, but
it also gives you a check on how much effort you are putting in. Okay, it is also very encouraging. Of course, we have to take it with a pinch of salt, and we have to accept that yes, he is the one who is interested, vested into the case. He is going to be the end sufferer or gainer out of the situation. So you need to respect his choices. You need to find a way around it. And that, in fact, if you look at it like a half glass full way, you can actually see that actually motivates you, encourages you to put in your best. As long as the ethics and the trust factor between the client and attorney, which is expected, is not disturbed.
That's right. That's very right. That's very right. I mean, so far this has been a great session. I have really enjoyed it. I have a lot more questions, but I understand you are a busy bee, and we are always short on time with every lawyer actually, and with you, I guess I can sense that. But now I want to talk about then time. That would be my last question. Uh, Time is it's time management is very difficult for anyone to do. The start is easy. Carrying it further is the most difficult part, making it part of your life. And to quote it very, very formally, time is money in any profession, and in legal it's most of all. So my question is, how do you ensure to stay ahead of time, or actually stay with time, in coordination with, and make the best out of your time as a lawyer, and as for your personal life as well? And I also want to add one more thing. How do you differentiate? You see, there are a lot of cases that comes and stays there. How do you not take it with you when you are in your circle, if you know what I mean? So how do we do it, and how can other lawyers do it? So these are two questions.
I'm sorry, I did not get the second one.
Okay, I'll ask the second one once you answer the first one.
All right. Okay. So the way generally we look at time are two aspects. One is the 24 hours log that we are addressing or answering to, we are trying to meet up. And second is the value that time is bringing to you. Right? I follow both the principles. One is, time value of money, right? You are valuing your log and value your time as money. so that I am spending each moment the best I can, personally and professionally. If I'm doing certain thing, I do it only when I'm ready to do it. I wait it out otherwise. You know, that means if I were to conduct some meetings with my client to discuss certain aspect, there is some negotiation, I am unapologetic in saying that I need to prepare a little more on this. There are 1, 2, 3 questions on which I need to address, and my clients there is enough faith between me and my clients to understand that yes, if she is passing off the meeting, not canceling the meeting, passing off the request for an immediate meeting to tomorrow because she's addressing something. Because in a meeting, all you can do is discuss. But to discuss, you need to be prepared. And with that, I'll address the first part to it is you be ready with your homework for every meeting you are going. I really do not appreciate people coming unprepared. That goes with the court. That goes, and of course, the courts appreciate it the least if you are unprepared. If you're unprepared for a meeting, if you're unprepared even for your party, not done. Enjoy your best. Okay. So that is how you can really bring value to the time you're putting in. More than bringing, value into your time. And then of course, the logging system of your time has to be very careful. One has to be really pessimistic while logging the time, I believe. I do not log multiple conferences in a day, no matter what. I put a mark to it because one, it is emotionally, physically, and also in terms of time consuming and exhausting. Second, also you do not deliver the best. It is not practically possible that you are arguing matters during the day. Also, you are conducting 10 conferences during the day. When are you going to do the chamber work? So in the list of priority, first is of course the court dates, which you have to bow down before whatever date it comes to you. You have to be prepared for that. Second most important priority to me is chamber work. That me time aspect that we struggle for in the personal life is that me time. Chamber work is that part of me time when it comes to my professional life. On the occasions when I really don't find that I have done justice to the chamber work during the week, my family is also very forgiving. I am also very unapologetic in the sense that there are Sunday afternoons I spend in my office to ensure that I complete it. Because no matter how much work you carry home, it doesn't get done. Sticking to the timelines can only be done through this. Thirdly, prioritizing. There is this wonderful business tool and I promote it to everyone. When you are saying that how you prioritize your work, important, urgent, not important, not urgent, whatever is important and urgent, you address that first. Not urgent, yet important, you pass it on. Not urgent, delegate. And likewise, not important, not urgent, no requirement to do it only unless it comes as pressing, because that is something. However, putting things into perspective, understanding what is important, what is urgent, is something has to be founded by your understanding of the law and understanding of life. If I were to speak of personal life.
That's right. That's right. My second follow-up question on this was, you see, when you are into a case, when you're with a client, when you hear it out, if it could be disturbing in commercial, I'm not sure how emotional questions come into the picture, but still it is there. It stays in your mind. How you make sure that you leave it in your chamber? How you make sure that you leave it on the table and not take it with you at your place, especially when you are with your family or around your friends. You see, that was the question. So yes, I mean, if we can address that.
Oh,
And
I
that is
would
not for
love to.
me, for young lawyers as well.
Oh, I would love to if you are saying it for the young lawyers, because this is something my seniors had taught me, seniors from the bar, my senior, that Saloni, do not identify with the brief. Do not take it as your own. Do not cause for it. Because the more clouded you are, and in terms of associating with the relief, this often comes initially when you start investing emotionally or identifying with the client. Let's say if it's a family matter, even if I don't do much of that, but then even if it's a family matter, identifying with the parties. This has happened with him, maybe this had happened with my family member, my mother, my father, something like that. And in commercial matters, associating too much with your client and promising exorbitant relief, which as a lawyer, if you were asked independently, you wouldn't endorse it, right? So always I would promote, before to cut off, firstly you need to fight for it, that you maintain the independence as a lawyer, of your time, of your mind, because the more you associate with your client, the client can dictate on your time. The more independent you are, you can dictate on your own time, on your own style of functioning, on your own interpretation, and on your own advice. And in the court, on your own way of arguing the matter. You do not want some client whispering around your ear when you're arguing the matter. And we see that quite often, which is not welcome. Even the judges don't like it. Right? So that, and disassociating with the situation, we have an initiative in my office called I Am Flower Child. We work for women rights, child rights in our own way. So academic discussion of the law happens through it, and if at all something actionable comes out of it, we do it as a pro bono case, identifying it ourselves. So there also we do not identify, because the foundation of it is also discussing the law and the policy behind it. This is a very welcome activity for me and my team, because the academic pursuit should not be left behind while practicing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's right. It always says that being in a room where there are more, I mean, there are intelligent people, more, of course, more than yours. And even the discussions which are out of your
I'm
intellectual reach. No, I mean, okay. So my next statement fits here, if you're saying so, which is, of course, not true at all. After half an hour of a session, I can sense that. But anyways, my next statement was actually be in a room where there are more intellectual people, or be in a topic where your your intellectual ability lacks to understand that, and always be in that room, because one day you will learn it, and when you learn it, you will feel different. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, you see, but I've been associated with lawyers, and doing a lot of things around legal fraternity. Earlier I used to call it industry, legal industry, but then I got to know that it's not an industry. Okay, it's a noble profession, so you rather not use that keyword. And this has changed a lot within us. I mean, I'm just addressing what you were saying, your initiative, and we do not have such initiative in our workplace, but what we have is, because we are working around lawyers, so now we know a lot more about it. You see, when I see uh, Harvey in suits, I don't see it like, yeah, it's a blue chip game. It's not. There's a lot more practical things that are required to be learned. Not the drama, but not the real space, but the real space of it. So, I mean, this has been my take, Ms. Ghule. This was a great session so far. Lovely. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. A lot of insights from you about your practice, about legal profession as a whole, clients, as a lady lawyer. We covered almost all the aspects. We'll try to dwell down into further aspects of legal industry once we come up with another session of this series. And meanwhile, I want you to be ahead of what you're actually into. Keep creating the value, because value addition is the name of the game, I believe now. And that's when uh, a young lawyer, first generation lawyer, lady lawyer with her own law firm can create a lot of impact in the industry. And I'm sure that I'm talking about you as a third person. So please take all the credit. I hope you enjoy the session. If you have anything to address, I'm all yours.
I did. I thoroughly enjoyed the session. It was a wonderful chat, and just the way I would have wanted it to be. Uh, I really appreciate you taking insights for the younger lawyers. Yeah, I am not an oldie myself, but then I can pass on what my seniors have shared with me. And those happen to be the foundation of the entire process. So I thoroughly enjoyed discussing and chatting with you. Thanks, Sagar.
Yes, all mine, Saloni. And let's conclude the session very formally. So I want to thank you for sharing such great insights with us. And we, of course, look forward to having a chat with you again in the future on some other trending topics in the international legal industry, and about your uh, cases and your journey furthermore. And for our viewers, if you like this chat with Ms. Saloni Ghule, I want you to like this video, to share this video, and to click on that red button and subscribe to Click Away Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming in from legal industry leaders like Ms. Goulet herself. This was Sagar for LexTalk World signing off. Thank you very much.